one of the most interesting guests I think that we will probably ever have on the show, but also someone I am highly excited to bring on the show as well. Our next guest, he is real, he is raw, and he is passionate. Charlie LeDuff, he's an award winning investigative journalist, an author, and now even a podcaster. He's with us this morning here on the Oakland County MegaCast. And also, we are former co workers as well. Charlie, I should probably mention that. Um, I'm honored and pleased to have you with us here on the MegaCast.
Thanks for having me on. It's a shame I had to beg to come on it. It's, you know what I mean? It's such an awesome big deal. But, thanks for having me on.
He's being sarcastic. I had to beg him to come on. But Charlie, one of the one question I always get when I'm out in public and I see people and they're always like, "Where's Charlie LeDuff? What are you doing? You're actually doing bigger and better things. It's just maybe not in the forefront of what people are used to." So
Yeah.
what are you doing right now?
Well, here's the modern world, and here's modern media journalism. All you got to do is go online and put my name in, and you'll see. I love when people do it on Facebook. Where you been? And I said, all you got to do is scroll down, and you'll see where I've been. But I'm a columnist at Deadline Detroit with Alan Langle over there. It's a news site backed by Pete Carmanos. I do have a podcast, but we've got investors now. The thing's really starting to take off. It's called the No BS News Hour. So it's basically a radio show that we're turning into a TV show. Look online, because that way we don't have any masters. The only master is getting it accurate and being interesting. So I know all of us being, a person in media, a lot of it is soft. A lot of it takes a side. A lot of it's afraid. It's wait and see. And to me, if you ever watch The Wire, there's an old Baltimore Sun reporter named David Simon. And yeah, there you go. Exactly, Ryan. Probably the first great television show with an arc to it. He said, with the collapse of media, advertising, all of that for the oligarchs and the government, they're going to have a field day for about a decade. Corruption's going to run wild. Information's not going to be at your fingertips until we figure out how to make journalism profitable again. Because in the Constitution, they leave money for the judiciary, the legislative body, the executive. They mention the press, but there's never any money for us. So you have to figure out how to fund it. So now you're back, Ronnie, and it's basically, through the government, and it's just trying to figure out where to go. But more now than ever, I think we can all see it, what we've been through, that there needs to be a counterbalance and a challenge to what's being fed to us, because that's just not going to make the country go right. So I'm online. I'm a columnist. I wrote another book. It was a bestseller as show. I'm probably working on another one, and I'm doing a podcast.
So
and
you actually wrote, Charlie, so you wrote 2 books.
I've written
because
4.
I have them both. Well, you wrote 4. So I have 2 of the 4, but I will say the one for me was Detroit, the American Autopsy. You have to get this book. For the people out there, you need to get this book. It's a real deal. It's raw. And as a reporter who was mainstream at the time, general assignment, you cover Detroit each and every day, but you don't see Detroit in the same eyes as someone such as yourself. But your voice, to me, is probably one of the most important voices that's still left in Detroit. And when we talk about mainstream journalism, it's gone. If I haven't talked to one reporter, I've talked to 50 reporters that they know the old model doesn't work anymore because they no longer get to tell the real stories and uncover the real truth. We were the muckrakers. Our point was to be the watchdogs. In journalism, you don't get to be the watchdogs, but you are still a watchdog. What was it like for you to have to walk away from mainstream media to continue what you're doing?
That's a good question. I don't think I walked away from mainstream journalism, because that's what I am. I'm just a mainstream, middle of the road guy living his life, worried about his kid, worried about his, his home and how he's going to make the bills and then can I get the kid to college. But it's just, look, it seems to me that in all of the mainstream media we're talking about, there are still some killers. There are, we know them. They're friends of ours. Individuals are out there rocking it. The institutions themselves are kind of falling apart, doing buyouts, hiring young people who are smart, but they drowning them in so many stories. Look when you pull the newspaper out or watch local TV, what do you get? One story, next story, next story, next story, next story, next story. It's about 30 seconds or it's about that long. And you're sitting there consuming it, wondering, well, who, what, where, when, why, how? And there's no time for it. I also think I won't blame reporters. You'll take a check where you can get it. I kind of blame the people that run it. I think they're like drunks at a blackjack table that have 3 chips left and their plane's going to take off in Vegas and come back home. And they're trying to make it till that plane and they're dealt 2 aces and they decide not to split them, but to, say, I've got 2, hit me again, hit me again. Now more than ever is the time to experiment and see if you can create the new presentation, not the new journalism, because journalism is facts more than, if you get it wrong, if people listening, if I get it wrong, you're not going to listen anymore. Not credible. That is always rule number 1. But rule number 2, which can never supplant rule number 1. Rule number 2 is you can't be boring. You can't be superficial. If you do, they're going to leave. And so now what are we left with? Partisan, I'm on the left. I'm on the right. There's nobody in the middle. They're standing brave enough to tell you, for instance, nothing at Cobo was fraudulent that night of the votes. Nothing was fraudulent. I was there working as a reporter, but also as a vote counter, not an observer, not a Democrat, not a Republican. I busied myself to know the process, the computer flow chart of this thing. And when you put that out there, okay, people that want to believe there was something nefarious at Cobo hate you. And then when you talk about the governor's tepid, bad response to the nursing homes and COVID, then the left will get you. But this is the truth. And you have to have guts in the modern era to tell the truth.
There are so many things that I want to talk about with you. I don't know where to start, but I will say the one thing when you say reporter, but we also see these people that are influencers. I will say, I was appalled today when the last few days, the GMA, Good Morning America, they're doing these spots with influencers. They have no background, no education. They're just influencers. And that is their expert. And I'm like, this is where we are. This is where we are in America right now.
So on that bit, they had like influencers, basically hipsters sitting around their computer, like commentating on stuff going around the world that they have no part of, right?
Yeah. I think yesterday's influencer was about, I don't know, like weight loss. And today's influencer actually had to do with your financial responsibility in the new year. You're an influencer. Like, why are we listening to them? But why are we giving them a platform on national media? I don't get it.
Probably because the national media, as its audience atomizes, right, and moves online, again, just go to Google, you can find everybody. It's ratings. Now, I don't mind an influencer being on. Like, I don't mind talking to Angelina Jolie about, Darfur. That's cool. But you're not the expert. Now, if they're bringing them on and all of a sudden the influencer's the expert, we have a problem. So when I'm doing the podcast, which it's got 100,000 listeners, it's 1 hour a week, but we don't do commenting on Ted Cruz. We're going to get Ted Cruz, or I'm going to do a story on Ted Cruz. We're still going to be the reporter. I don't see, everybody's talking and nobody's doing. Everybody's sitting around in COVID with an opinion based on what the next guy said, based on what the last chick said, based on what the last dude said. It's too much talk and not enough doing. So I agree with you. That's why I don't watch it.
But on top of that, though, I will say, Charlie, when you're talking about your podcast, for those that don't know, again, it's the No BS News Hour. You can get it on Apple or whatever your podcast is. Please download it because it supports independent investigative journalism. But on top of that, you're not only bringing in these people for these very raw and very real conversations, I have to say. I was listening to your latest podcast, and it was the year end, and the guy from the Proud Boys was pretty enlightening, but also they're also very real interviews and with very real people, such as the individual, the guy with the one lung is what you kind of called him. But those stories aren't being told anymore, but those are the real stories of Detroit.
That's funny you say it, because when you're doing a broadcast, and I do deal with it every day. Okay, what do we look like? What are we doing? What's missing? So we do have newsmakers like the founder of the Proud Boys. I knew the dude back in New York in the day. The congresswoman from Detroit who did not support impeachment until the Democrats avalanched on her and she changed her mind. But I'm thinking, when you look at these roundtables on CNN and Fox, and again, the influencers, they're not really reporters. They're reading the Washington Post and then commenting on it. So I say, what's missing? Well, regular people. Why on these panels aren't there nursing home attendants? What are they, stupid? They're not stupid. They're the ones that actually know. And then the reporters talk to them. And then the influencers talk about what the reporters had to say about talking to someone doing the work. So we have nursing home attendants. A guy locked up at the Wayne County Jail with one lung in a raging case of COVID. They took him to the hospital, thought he was going to die, discharged him. He didn't die, and he's drifting through suburban and metro Detroit, spreading COVID everywhere. He's pulling through the sandwich counter at the Sunoco. It's ridiculous. So I'm just trying to think out of the box. You zig in, you zig out. Somebody of, stature, politician, and then somebody who really knows. So over the holidays, I profiled Frank, an 83-year-old guy who every day since May goes to the window where his wife is in the nursing home and suffers from dementia. And now that it's cold, he's brought a pop-up tent, and it's beautiful. And it's just a love story, nothing political, but guys like Frank, guys like One Lung Forta, people like the Congresswoman, just mixing it up, because I don't think anybody else is doing it. I love people.
And with that, Charlie, though, I want you to touch on your reporting into the nursing homes during COVID-19, because from where I sit and from what I can see, you're the only person that is actually digging into the realities behind the COVID-19 numbers and the state numbers. They aren't always what they appear to be.
No. So let's back up to what we were just talking about to get into that. Another one is, I think about Calcutta, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Detroit, Michigan, where these things are flaming up. Who actually picks up the dead? I went out with the corpse collector. He makes $30 a body. We went out. I went into the nursing homes with him. We moved bodies. So I need to get a look and to get through the BS of numbers. And long story short, whether it's Governor Whitmer, Governor Cuomo, Governor DeWine, right? All of them. You'll notice across the country, whether it's open or it's closed, these particular states, the deaths, minimum half the deaths are in long-term care facilities, nursing homes, homes for the aged, adult foster care. We know where COVID strikes, and we know how COVID gets in there. It's from the underpaid and overworked aides, attendants, and nurses who work one job, two jobs, three jobs. They take the bus to work. What have we done? We went from the idea of invading the beaches of Normandy to actually doing it in 7 months. We're in month 10 of this. We haven't fixed the nursing homes. The heating and cooling systems still intermingle. There are not requirements for separate staff. They are suggestions. We've dumped no money into them. They're privately owned by hedge funds. We knew before the pandemic that 400,000 people a year died in nursing homes from infection. So we know that they're already cattle pens. What did we do in Michigan? We didn't force them to take old people with COVID cases back. We encouraged it through money. We financially incentivized it. So when the governor gives you the line, we never forced them. No, you gave them $5,000 a bed and $200 a day. Who took them in? The worst of the worst nursing homes in this state. We have the third worst nursing home system as judged by the federal government in the country. We have the second most abusive nursing home system in the country as judged by the federal government. So this thing hits and we're not doing anything. So let's look at the data really quickly, Ron, if I don't lose you. We were all complaining about this. Remember back in April, May, June, where's the data? Congress wants it, the legislature wants it. We didn't get it. Michigan only started counting deaths and cases in the deaths. Let's just say deaths. In July, when the federal government required it. Now what you see every week, right, is a death count with an asterisk. And the asterisk says these are also deaths from vital records searches. What does that mean? That means we're looking at death certificates from the past and determining, yeah, it was probably COVID. So what we're doing is we're counting dead people as newly dead, meaning we're diminishing what happened, we're overcounting what's happening now, and we never got a true accounting of what the true first real spike was in the early summer and late spring. This one's completely different. You don't see the bodies. They're about a third. You'll see the cases are exponential, 4 times the cases, right? But testing's increased 12 times. Long story short, all I'm asking, watch this, watch me balance left versus right. Watch this. I say the governor didn't do enough. You didn't do enough. That's our great shame and sin. End of life care. We see that it's broken. We must fix it. You see what happens in America when we don't fix things. When we don't fix dams and we don't fix nursing homes and the police departments, I can go on and on and on. Look what happens.
In the jails.
Oh, yes.
The jails are a petri dish. There are certain things at the very beginning of this. We knew it's like, it's going to happen, but yet when it doesn't happen and it took, I think, and I don't even know if with the death of Benny Napoleon, are they truly going to change some of the things that are going on at the Wayne County Jail? Because at the end of the day, in all honesty, while he was, the head of, the Wayne County, was he actually going into the jail system? Is that where he got COVID? We don't know. But you were on the jail system from the very beginning.
Yeah, look, I've been doing the jails forever, like Ficano and all the graft that goes through that sheriff's department. It's a ton of graft. And the biggest public works project going on right now in southeastern Michigan is the new super jail. In the time of Black Lives Matter, we're building a super jail. In January, I wrote about this. Governor Whitmer just signed the legislation. There was a great big, blue ribbon task force about incarcerating people, what we do about the jail system in Michigan. Nobody from the governor's task force stepped a loafer inside the Wayne County Jail, which is the biggest system in the state. I went in there in January, knowing COVID was coming, took a look around. It has never in 40 years passed a health inspection, despite the fact that it's overseen by the courts because of its miserable health conditions. And then I did it in February. Then I went in there the day after the governor shut the state down on March 10th and said, what about COVID? Then it starts rolling. We lost the commander of the maximum security. We lost the 2 main doctors. We lost the chief corporal. Now we lost the sheriff. Over 200 deputies caught this stuff, and we were just letting people out. So a woman, mother of an inmate, is worried about it. They're not getting tested. They don't have masks. You remember all those videos. She writes to the governor's office. The governor's office writes back, we have no jurisdiction over the county jails. Now, let me do that again. That's exactly what you have jurisdiction over. Your jurisdiction is health, the nursing homes, state funded, state inspected. It's the jails. It's the prisons, right? It's the unemployment system. So tell me, what is it that we fixed in 10 months to mitigate what's going on? Well, here's what we did. We shut the freaking restaurants down with no data, because if you look at the data, they're doing it by cases and not by the number of people. So for instance, you go to a bar someplace in upper Oakland County, and one outbreak, right, would be 2 or more people not related to each other. So a server has it and passes it on to the drinker. You have 2. That's a case. But at Michigan State, they listed 1 case. How many people within that? Because we do track schools now. 2,182. So by math, bad math, 50 in my example, 50% of the cases, cluster cases, are coming from restaurants, and 50% are coming from colleges. If you do it by the amount of people, that's not even a decimal point at the restaurants. It's the colleges. This the governor's responsible for, Department of Education. So I just don't get it. COVID is very real. I knew Benny Napoleon. I know at least a dozen people that died. We don't have a vaccine for this super flu. But for the life of me, doing this, oh, here's Flint. That one's coming soon too, by the way. Doing all of this, it's like I'm just doing the data and the real life, and I don't get it. And watch what's going to happen when everybody gets the shot, right? We're not going to fix the nursing homes. We're not going to fix the jails. People are going to be broke, and the cops are underfunded, and there's going to be hell to pay. Sorry to be a bummer, but somebody's got to tell you, and we got to do better than this.
But on top of that, too, when we talk about journalism, how can we get better in journalism? Is the nonprofit or the podcast way, is this going to be the future of journalism? Because you and I both know, look, I'm not sitting here for a reason. I want to be out in the mainstream doing important work, but you get shut down. There are powerful players in the entity that shuts people down. And so the future of journalism, is it going to be to get these stories told and to train journalists to look beyond the press release and to look at the numbers? Is that going to be in a nonprofit sector, and can that work?
I don't know. I just going to be honest. I don't know. I mean, how long is somebody going to fund you to lose money? You notice, like the New York Post, the thing doesn't make money. That's owned by Rupert Murdoch. The Washington Post, I don't care what they say, the thing doesn't make money. That's owned by Jeff Bezos. We can go on. New York Times, I would say watch the circulation drop now that, Trump's not fueling your clicks. I don't know what the future is. All I know is this: you got to try harder. You just got to be more clever. Think about what's interesting. Don't think for a minute, I'm not in my bed going, man, am I an old man? Am I irrelevant? I mean, I'll admit it. I'll tell you stuff. No, because then when my subconscious goes away and it's me again, that's also me. We fight a lot, me and me, But no, I'm good for the game today. Today I'm good for the game because I'm alive. And it is a racket. Journalism's a racket. It's about getting your attention. And I know that I got about 10 minutes of your attention, and it better be something you didn't know, because that's why you want news. Something news, and it better be interesting. So I think that's where it goes. Where it ends up, I don't know. I just know where I'm at the moment. But again, don't quit on the people. Stop. Journalists are people that can type without looking. Journalists, right? Reporters drink with the public in public, and journalists drink with the public officials in private. So don't think for a minute that you're part of that clique, the billionaires and the party heads. If you're a reporter, you belong to the people. And if you don't, you're going to die out. Simple as that.
One thing I always said is when they were like, you were under deadline, pre-write the story. And you were like, I can't write a story I haven't been a part of. People tell their stories. Like I'm not the story. They are their story. And if I pre-write it, I'm doing them a disjustice. Like there's something in the way they say or a word they say, and that sparks their story. Their story is not about me. I can't sit here and make up stories. They are their story. And I can't tell that story until I feel them and feel their story.
100%. Like, what's the angle here, right? What's interesting? So I think people know this. That's also part of what happened to media journalism. We let people see how the sausage is made. I think people are aware of that, right? Because if you look at any press conference, here's how you tell them apart. The print reporters are rocking back and forth, typing like this, like monkeys, trying to press the right button to get the banana chip out of the machine, right? That's what they do. The TV people are on their cell phones. I bet you they're playing Candy Crush. What they're waiting for is the print reporter to get the story that's pretty much pre-written, except for the quotes live from the press conference, waiting for it to ding over to their phone so they can basically copy it. How do I know this? I've been a TV reporter, I've been a print reporter, and I despise that work. It's the worst. I just can't do it. And then you'll see, well, maybe we're getting inside baseball, Ronnie, but there'll be a press conference at 1. By 2 o'clock online, the newspapers posted it, and the story's this long. You know how long it takes to write 2,000 words? 2,000 words is like 7 typed pages. And it got done in 45 minutes? That's because it's what you said. It was pre-written, it was boring, it didn't make sense, and nobody's going to read it.
And just so people don't know, like they may not know, anytime if you're a reporter and you go to a press conference, you ask for the prepared remarks ahead of time. Sometimes they give them, sometimes they don't. But that was a pretty common thing. Hey, just give me, but I'm not going to publish them until A, B, C, D, and E. But it gives you time to basically get it back to the people to put it out to the public and this, that, and the other. But Charlie, we need to have you on and just do an hour show with you because you're my hero. And if people don't know, everyone here in Metro Detroit knows who you are, but you're a brilliant writer amongst everything else that you do, but you care about the people. And it's to your heart. And that's the one thing that I think you and I have in common, even in the slightest bit, is it's never about the story, it's about the people. And I hope everyone takes that away. So again, people tend to ask me, what's Charlie LeDuff doing now? Because if they don't see you on Fox 2, they need to understand that I think you have a bigger platform, because I can't wait to tune in to every Friday. It seems to take a day or two before your Facebook Live actually hits the podcast, though.
No, we changed that. Just because we were making so much news out of it that we would go Facebook Live, like that's our we're birthing a TV show here. We would have that Friday, and our day to post would be Sunday. But by the time Sunday came around, national local media were cannibalizing our story. So it's going around the world, and then the original interview or whatever isn't out there yet. So yeah, it's Fridays.
So Fridays Facebook Live, but also do us a favor, everyone that cares about journalism and you care about having a real true voice in journalism and what's actually happening here in Metro Detroit in the state of Michigan, please do us a favor and download the No BS News Hour on your podcast with Charlie LeDuff. And I will say, I know that you wrote, I have 2 of your 4 books. I will say this is my favorite one. It's Detroit, an American Autopsy. Charlie LeDuff. It's still available out there as well. And you have the, we'll just say it, show.
Show, yeah. My agent got really mad at me. He goes, you know how many sales we lost by you calling it that? And I'm like, you didn't say anything. I didn't know.
But we love it anyway. Charlie, it's been great talking to you, and I miss you, my friend.
You're
and we
as
need
smart
to get
as
together
ever
soon.
and as beautiful as ever. No doubt about it. Thank you for having me.
But I miss you, but I love what you're doing, and thank you for continuing to be the voice of the people of Detroit, because you're an important voice, a very important voice that we cannot lose. So thank you for staying here in Detroit.
One plug. Listen, you can go to Google, nobsnewshour.com. Friday, watch this. It's coming in Flint, and I'm ahead of it because I never quit on you, Flint. Even though you're not Oakland County, we have our cousins and brothers. My brother lives in Flint. I got it. Justice.
Well, and that's the one thing, though. While we're the Oakland County MegaCast, we know that it goes beyond Oakland County. It goes throughout the state of Michigan, because what happens in Lansing and Flint happens to us here in Oakland County as well.
We got to pay for Flint now. We're paying for Flint.
Oh, we're paying big time. So it's great to have you with us.